Friends, family, and keepers of the faith, welcome to another Del Boy blog. And just like normal, we'll date stamp this. This one is year 3, blog 25, or in legacy numbers, it's the 129th blog in my series, and it's dated the 11th of August 2024. And just like always, we'll start off with the news and then talk a little bit about my week. Giving you a little bit of insight on my week. It's been actually not bad really. So anyway, we'll talk a little bit about my week, but we'll start off with the war. I get some of this stuff out of the way because, to be quite honest, this is really just, as I say, a date stamp with no real opinions on it, other than, you know, the really horrible stuff obviously we don't want to happen. So the war. President Zelensky announced for the first time that his military is conducting cross-border offensive inside Russia's western Kursk region. On Tuesday, Ukraine advanced 10 kilometers into Russian territory. And that's the deepest they've been since the conflict began. Now, depending on which side you're on, you're looking at these things as being good and the other side bad, and the other side bad, the good, you know, the one side bad, the other side good. You get the picture. I just want the war to end. I do know that for almost a year and a half or more, it's all been about Russia and them invading the territory and making advances. You don't hear too much about the other side. At some point, that's got to happen. It looks like that point has reached. How long that lasts for, how much resources they've got, unknown. All I know is I want it to end. So we move to the UK news, and it's all sad, really. For the UK side of things, I'm pretty sure we all mentioned it last week, that after the things that happened in Southport, riots began. So for the UK, riots continue around the whole of the United Kingdom, causing massive damage and unrest and fear to all that confront it or in it. Yes, it continues now. It was all over my emails at work about going into work. You know, if you feel that you can't get into work, don't go, all of that sort of stuff, all normal stuff that you'd expect from a company that, you know, wants its staff to be safe. So again, something that I just want to end. And we all have our own opinions on the riots. So there's nothing else really to say. And then the other story is really about today. The Olympics end today. So that's the 2-week point. I think the Paralympics start afterwards or shortly. Generally they do. So far at the moment, Great Britain is, I think, 6th with 14 medals. All the radio ever does, because we're obviously pro our own country, will say, have we advanced from the last Olympics? Has the money, has the enthusiasm of getting youngsters to participate in sport made any difference from the last Olympics? They all tend to be on a high with this, saying yes, there's definitely been that. I think that's a good thing. I hope that that's the message that goes across, just like it was loud and clear with the British 2012 Olympics, that sport is good, get people enjoying it, seeing the healthiness in competitiveness, etc, etc. So, you know, may long that continue. I know some of my friends are really into the Olympics and have had a great time watching it. My mum has. So, you know, I'm going to end on a positive, really, and just say that it's sad that it comes to an end. 4 years and there'll be another one. there'll be a Winter Olympics in a couple of years' time. For those who don't like sport, and I know it's like ho ho hum, you know, it's a couple of weeks and then it's gone. I know there's a lot more of a sport, and of course the football has just started for some. Um, there's plenty of other stuff, and if you ever know anything about this channel, you know I'm big onto physical media. Start getting into that, watching some films, watching some TV, getting out there, doing some walks, anything that clears your mind and makes things enjoyable for yourself. That's the big thing. So then we talk a little bit about me, and as I said, it's been mixed, but it's been mostly good. Just to talk about my week, I suppose, a little bit. I do it usually on a daily thing if I can remember what happened on those days. Monday came and went. I went back to work after having a week off. Nothing really exciting happened there. There was a couple of things at the end. Anybody that's going back to work has to do a bit of catch up. Therefore, you wouldn't expect, you know, people to then suddenly say, because on the Tuesday I got a little message, you need to get this done before you leave, you need to do this before you leave. But putting that sort of pressure on someone when they've just got back and they had to get caught up with their emails, and then there's all the meetings that you need to go to, I felt was a bit poor. So I did actually address that with my manager, and he said apologies. It wasn't supposed to be a pressure thing, it was just supposed to be a reminder thing. But of course, what happens is, if you read something an hour before the person even starts work, because I start early, and if you read it in the tone that it seems to come across, it seems like a get at. He said it was definitely not that, it was a reminder. And I then pointed out the things that I was doing that day, and he said, yeah, totally see it. So, hey, maybe see again something where somebody is listening and a positive out of it. It may sound like I was very negative then about my manager. No, he listened on the Tuesday, and there hasn't been any reoccurrence of that. So all good news, you know. Tuesday came along, nothing really exciting to happen. There's some things that are going on in the background there that I won't particularly talk about, that can be considered sad, but I look at it as positives at the moment. So we get to Wednesday, and Wednesday's the excitement day for me, if you see what I mean, because I go and do a live thing with a chat with my friend Ian Hill, the Ramblings. Always look forward to Wednesday. We've got so many sort of like people that are enthusiastic about films and TV and even adverts and magazines and music, that you can't help but just say, I'm really looking forward to that. And we were talking about some really old stuff. I mean, if I was to mention a few things like Doc Savage. Do you remember Doc Savage, the film? With Ron Ely, who used to be in the TV series Tarzan from the 70s. So that was brought up. And it makes you think then about all the films that were around about that period. And a title came up that I remembered, because I remember all the reasons why it was a sort of a film that sticks in my mind. Do you know what I mean? There's all sorts of reasons why things will be in your mind. Some of them are happy memories, some of them are tinged with a bit of sadness. So this film I'm talking about is something that I did a retrospective on Friday. So on Wednesday, the film Biggles came up, and that brought back so many memories. I was going, oh, I remember Biggles. That was cheesy, but it was great. And then I remembered why I liked it. And I went to the pictures with a girl that I wanted to go, you know, steady with, if you want to use an old term of dating. But I was too much of a nervous Nelly, very closed down about my appearance, all of that sort of stuff. but very pro about films, TV, computers, all of that sort of stuff. And we set up a computer club, uh, her and I, and it was mainly through her brother. We were going to YTS night school, business studies, which is how I met her. And we worked on several projects to get the homework done and all of that sort of stuff, and both came away with our passes, so that continued for a couple of years. But anyway, I went to the pictures to see Biggles. We didn't see it again until when we went to computer club at their house. Sometimes there would be times where we didn't buy games. We didn't have enough money. It's you can't buy everything every week. And on very slack days, or days where the computer club would show the one game that we got, there was so many hours left, so we'd rent out a film. This is the days of going to video rental stores, and we'd rent out Biggles. And I saw it then, and I remember buying it on sell-through. I don't remember ever having a Laserdisc of it. I don't remember ever having a DVD of it. And it was during the chat on Wednesday, and it came up through Stephen Moyles, I think, and Cy Robson that were talking about it, that made me go, oh, wow. And I got a few facts wrong, because when you're in a chat, your mind is going a million miles an hour, right? And it's picking up bits and bobs and things that you think are right but possibly aren't. So I happened to mention, oh yeah, I remember Biggles. I remember the theme tune to it. Do you want to be a hero? Couldn't remember who sang it or anything about the song, other than it was a catchy 80s synth tune. I tried to remember if I had the soundtrack of it. I did, but I haven't got it anymore. And it's never been released on CD. That was the other thing I found out. And I happened to mention that I thought that it was a time-traveling World War One film, between the 80s and World War One, between two people, Biggles and this guy called Ferguson, James Ferguson, so they both share the same first name, James or Jim. And they keep traveling back in time. Whenever somebody's in real danger, he would be transported back to World War One. Later on, we find it's a two-way track. And I thought it was the relationship of the twins, the twinning of this problem, was that he was the grandson or something of Biggles, but it's not. It's just they're time twins for some unknown reason. So that's where, again, my memory wasn't right. I said it was the grandson or something. Anyway, Ian happened to mention it sounds really interesting. I don't think I've ever seen it. And secretly, while we were doing the stream, I knew I wanted it. So I ordered it, and I ordered another copy and sent it to my friend. I thought, why not? We've just talked about it. I've got an idea that I'm going to do a retrospective of it. He can watch the film and then watch my retrospective to see whether it matches his own feelings on the film, So Wednesday ended on a high. Brilliant. We had a nice little chat afterwards about what's going on in our lives. Thursday came along again. Nothing really to talk about. I would say that at this particular point, my health wasn't great. I managed to go for a walk. I'd managed to go for a walk on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. But on Thursday, I really struggled. And then Friday came along, and I did the retrospective that I was talking about. You can catch all this up on my channel. You just look for it, Biggles. You'll see it there. And I couldn't walk up to the halfway up the street. And I said to my mother, I said, this is the first time that I felt quite like that. I'm going to have to take things a little bit further. And you start using this deep heat stuff that I loathe to try because it burns, and it smells awful. So I thought I made a decision there and then that I would probably take 2 days off after I do a walk, because all my walks are over a mile. I will take 2 days. I'll do 2 days of walking, 2 days off, 2 days of walking. And whatever I'm going to be doing with my walking, I'll take it steady. And if I ever feel like I've got a rush to do something, I'll use the car. So today it would be a day where I'd normally go for a walk. The last time I went or attempted was Friday. So I'll be going Monday. And see how that is. I've had a couple of bad nights trying to sleep, but I did wake up with my leg feeling a little bit better. I'm still hobbling, don't get me wrong, and I'm still uncomfortable sitting in a chair, which is why you probably see me moving left and right. But I do also know that this is the thing with sciatica. It's something I have to live with. There's not an awful lot I can do. From my mental health point of view, anything that's going on in the background that is detrimental to my mental health, I'm putting a positive spin on it and going, it is what it is. If it's something or someone that's causing that, they've got it wrong. They're not bad people. They got it wrong. That sort of thing. So, that's how I'm sort of like concentrating, putting things in a positive spin. They're still upsetting, but nothing else really to say about it. So Saturday, by the way, is usually blog prep day, but a message came through from my friend Pete on Playtendoguy. He decided to do a live stream, and he invited me on. And he invited me on with another guest, which I hadn't seen for a long time, Josh from Through the Lens. And we had a nice hour and a half chat that took all of those things I've just talked about away, put a smile on my face, talking about things, getting caught up. Brilliant. And then in the evening, my friend from a long time, Mamemeister, did a live stream. And unfortunately, that one ended a little bit abruptly because of copyright things. It's one of those unfortunate things where you latch on to something that's really fun for yourself and also to the people that you're talking to. But if you put something on that is deemed by YouTube as being, you can't do that, copyright, they block you. It's one of those things where you will see at the end of this stream, when I get to my trailers, I wanted to do more trailers, but when I looked at the trailers to download and then show you guys, there's so many tunes in there that are from the charts that would block my whole blog. So I have to sort of like be very, very careful. So take it like this. If I wanted to do the trailer for Biggles, it's got a theme tune on there from 1985. Is that going to be detrimental? Who knows? But the one that definitely would be detrimental that was in there, what one was it? Was Atomic Blonde. Now, Atomic Blonde has come through to me this week, and you'll see at the end. But it's got far too much pop influence music in the trailer that it would be like easy gone. Or would it? And that's the thing you have to put in your mind. Would it or wouldn't it? The trailer is on YouTube itself. But I dare say those people have got the pass for copyright. You'll see from last week that there is 30 seconds of silence in the trailer for Collateral. That happened because I got a copyright strike saying it is totally blocked. As soon as it was totally blocked, I went to YouTube and said, blank out the offending music, which is 30 seconds long, believe it or not, of a 2-minute trailer. And all of a sudden it's no blockages, no copyright infringements, nothing. So I do apologise for last week. I did put it in the notes. Apologies for the silence of 30 seconds. That was due to copyright infringement. So apologies for that. And the last thing I'm just going to end on is a little bit of a topic, a little bit of a recap. It's what is a blog? A lot of people seem to, I think, can take things the wrong way or not understand something. So if you've ever looked at history and seen things like the Diaries of Anne Frank or anything like that, a blog is sort of like my diary, and it's whatever's going in my mind. So if I have a bad week and something was disappointing to me, then of course I will mention it. What I will also mention, though, in that disappointment is whether I thought that there was any intent in it, right? Whether there was something that I thought was done on purpose, for which I don't know of any blog that I've done where I've said that's the case. So to be quite honest, if a blog is mentioning a disappointment, it's because it was a disappointment to me. I need my nephews and nieces, who this is initially aimed at, to understand what was going through their mind, what were the trials and tribulations that were going on with their uncle. Yeah. And that's why I mention my mother so much. My mother is something that is now part and parcel of this blog. She's had a terrible week this week. She's felt sick, constantly falling asleep, going to bed early because she's not even interested by the end of the evening about the Olympics. And this is all detrimental to how she was the week before. And these are the things that I have to address. And those things will have a bearing on my mental health. So you have to understand, anybody that's sort of like watching this, there is no malice or intent or anything. It's a blog. And a blog is a diary. And a diary is something that is to be looked, read, whatever, in years to come, and remember what it was like back in that time. Also with tips and tricks of how I got past that stumbling block. So all I can say is that I love my blog. I'm going to continue doing it. It's a warts and all. It will continue to be a warts and all. I would say that that the best thing to do while looking at this is know the person and know whether they have a nasty bone in their body. You know, whether the tasks and things they've done in their past indicates, you know, a different side of them. Do you know what I mean? To hide or something. I've got nothing to hide. Absolutely nothing, to be quite honest. There are things I have to sort of like skirt around because of the type of job I do. But that's about it, really. Otherwise, my life's an open book. And so with that, we move forward, because everything I look at this week has been an absolute positive. Absolutely hasn't jarred me one bit. Opened my eyes to things. Tinges of sadness, but not that much that it's causing me any pain. I'm more concerned about my friends, my mother, my health than work and other things that are misrepresented. Yeah, that's the best way to look at it. So that's the end of that. See, gotten quite quick through that. Like I say, it's been one of those weeks where if you're at work, you have less time, you know. And then there are things that, you know, you have to get out and just clear. And that's pretty much what I've done there, really. So we'll move forward. And we get to the shout-outs. I love the shout-outs. You know full well I love the shout outs, because these are people that genuinely have watched the blog. That was the other thing that I should have probably have brought up in there, is how can you ever tell whether people that you regularly speak to have actually watched it? You know, you could, because when you have general conversations, if they ever phone you up, um, your mind probably thinks that they've seen it, right? But everybody's got their own lives, very busy lives at that. So you naturally start talking in a way like they've seen it, right? I've got a funny feeling that some of the things that that go on are not seeing the blog and being told about it, and it's like Chinese whispers and it's told wrong and all of that sort of stuff. But anybody that leaves a comment like these have obviously watched it, because they start talking about the content in it. So you can see where I'm coming from. It's one of those things where you go, ah, right, yeah, I remember that from last week's blog. And if you remember, there's a ton of them, that from people that have done it. So that fills me with absolute happiness. So this week, slightly smaller list, but we are in the middle of summertime and holidays and all sorts of stuff, plus people's lives. Like I say, some people work at night, some people do 12-hour shifts. So we have got, in no particular order, Robert's Retro Gaming, Ian Hill, The Ramblings, Paul Patrick, Martroyd, Mark Fletcher, Colin Jones, aka Ponder, Mamemeister, and Jim Jam Movies. Like I say, every single one left a comment. And I'm going to mention a couple of other names because I need to go to another page to do that. But the retrospective has also got some of my friends that have commented on there. So I have to sort of like go to that part. So to do that, I'd have to diminish what the comments that I'm just about to read. So I can't do it right now. So we'll move to reading out the comments. And we start off with Paul Patrick. Okay, so let's see what Paul Patrick says, shall we? He says, another interesting blog, Del. Hope you've had a good week. And I hope that sort of like explained it just now. Paul, thank you very much. It's not been bad at all. Quick question for you. Are you a fan of roller coasters or theme parks? ? I went to Blackpool Pleasure Beach this week. See what I mean about holidays and stuff and going out. Blackpool Pleasure Beach this week and went on Infusion. And it was quite an intense experience. But queues were insane. Blackpool Pleasure Beach have a VIP queue that they charge extra for, but means the pleb queue moves much slower. The pleb queue. I don't know if I'll get something wrong for saying something like that. But what an interesting question, because back in the day, all I ever wanted really was to look forward to going to fairs and all that sort of stuff. And I've mentioned it before that my hometown has a travelling fair, and that has all of those rides, like the waltzers and the flying horses and the teacups that float around and all of that sort of stuff, the cage and all of that. I never really liked those. I did go on a couple, but I obviously have one of those stomachs that when pressure is pushed against it, when centrifugal force is there, or your eye line on the horizon moves so fast that you get spinny and headachy and get hot sweats, and it then becomes not fun. That being said, I remember while at school in my teens, so I was at secondary school, we went to Alton Towers, and I remember going on what was that ride called then? It was iconic at the time. It was the corkscrew ride. Can't remember what it was called. Yellow metal thing. One of the highlights of going to Alton Towers it was. And I went on that and I went, wow, I don't want to go on that again. And I've been sort of like a bit tentative about going on anything like that again. But it was on that day that something else actually was worse that happened. I went on something similar to what the cage is. I don't know if you know what the cage is. The cage is like a metal frame with little cubicles on it, where it's a circular disc, and you step into the outside of it, and it spins round. Right? There's an arm on it, and it lifts you horizontally and vertically, and this whole thing spins round. And obviously, there's a massive amount of pressure on your face and chest, and everybody's screaming, and everybody gets off going, "Woo! What a thrill!" and all of this sort of stuff. And I never went on that because I didn't like the idea of the metal mesh, being able to see through the metal mesh. But there was another one that was there, which was similar to the cage, only it was a drum. So imagine a drum now, a hollowed out drum. And what this drum does is it spins around just like the cage, only there are no individual compartments. And you stand on a floor, and the thing spins round really fast, and you're pinned against the back of the drum. But then the floor drops, right? It drops about, I don't know, I think about 2 foot, about a foot for 2 foot, nothing more than that. But you're then pinned with the floor dropped. Now, I could almost feel myself feeling quite ill, and I was going, "Oh, these rides, I swear they're too long," or I felt that at the time. They're about 4 or 5 minutes, aren't they? Something like that. But this one person that was a little bit further around the drum was sick on the ride while it was spinning. And anybody will tell you about physics and so forth, is this sick sort of like, it wasn't so fast that it went into the center and then splattered out, but it left projectile wise and then went like that all across the left side or right side, depending on the way it was spinning. And some of that sick hit me, and you couldn't do anything about it. You went going, "Oh, what's that?" And then when you finish, the floor comes back up and you lead yourself out. The smell of this stuff made you sick, and you were then vomiting at the same time as all the others coming off, because the smell of this thing was awful. Don't know what the person had been eating, hot dogs, candy floss, God knows what. But terrible. But your question really is about, do I look forward to roller coasters? And the reason I mention that is that I did go on a couple that were in the States. Now, I've mentioned it a lot, that during the 90s, all the way from the 1990s to 2000, with my 10-year license passport, I pretty much went like twice a year, or minimum once a year. So that passport got filled pretty quickly, and I was mostly going to California, although there were other trips to Florida in that time. So, of course, when you're going to Florida and California, you're going to the Universal Studios, aren't you? And Epcot, all of that. And they have roller coasters, but I was more interested in the virtual rides, the Back to the Future ride, something like that, or the Star Wars ride, or the Fantastic Voyage ride, where you're going through the human body. You're miniaturized, and basically the ride is based on looking at a TV screen or a horizon that's artificial, and the plinth of the setting that you're sitting in lifts up, and it's like a hydraulic thing. It's almost like one of those flight simulator type devices, only much more volatile. And they're brilliant. The Back to the Future ride ended up being my favourite ride, and it ended up being my favourite ride for 6-7 years. It's dismantled now. It's a shame. But I went on that whenever I could. And our cousins, the Americans, have a great way of queuing. They don't do this, not that I saw, a VIP queue, but they might have been there, I don't know. But the queues were incredibly long, depending on when you go. And I went to the States sometimes during holiday period for the States, but most of the time out of season. So it wasn't too bad. But they have these video um, things to watch while you're in the queue. So the Back to the Future ride had a story of Doc through time, how Biff was going to nick this DeLorean, so that when you actually got to the ride itself, there was a whole story, and you knew exactly what was going to happen in this ride. That Biff had stolen a DeLorean, and you had to hit him at 88 miles an hour to get the DeLorean to jump back to present time, and he could be arrested and carted off. That was the ride. So isn't it marvelous that instead of having like street mimes or people doing juggling and all of that sort of stuff, there was a whole story to watch. It was brilliant. And I think the Americans are great at doing that. Queuing is something I think that we accept, I think, in Britain. But you wanted to know about where I've been. So, of course, I've mentioned Universal Epcot, California. I did go to Cedar Point, Ohio. I had to look this up in my diaries before this. So I went to see a couple of friends in Ohio. They lived in Washington Courthouse, which is not too far from Cincinnati, I think, and Dayton. But one day they said, we'll take you to a theme park. I don't know where this theme park in Ohio is. I know that we traveled or in the car for 4 or so hours. But we went to a place called Cedar Point. Six Flags, they called them. Six Flags amusement parks. And I went on a really rickety roller coaster. And the reason I went on it is they said it was one of the oldest roller coasters in America that's still in service today. It seems mad that I accepted to go on this. But at the time in my mind, I went, I can go home and say I've been on the oldest roller coaster in the world or something, right? Without thinking about the oldest roller coaster, therefore, is the most ricketiest, shammed roller coaster that's out there. Every bolt and nut that's going to be on this ride, you're going to feel. And and didn't I just? It was a wooden roller coaster. It was bloody bone shaker. It was. But then again, I've been to ones in California. I went to another Six Flags there. I went by myself on this one. I went to Knott's Berry Farm, and that had some roller coasters there. The only other roller coaster I want to talk about was I did go to Marvel Adventures in California at Universal Studios and went on one of the Marvel roller coaster rides. I think it was the Hulk. Not quite sure. It was one that I could get onto without having to queue for too long. But I loved all that Universal stuff. I loved they had a Twilight Zone 13th floor. They had the Jaws ride, the Earthquake, sort of studio tour type thing where they talk about the films, how they made, all that sort of stuff. Pirates of the Caribbean was there. But I think a lot of these are now gone. I don't know. I haven't been back now to California in 17 years. Yeah. So might be about time that I think about going on holidays, but I'm more into looking after my mum at the moment. But I hope that gives you an insight maybe of some of the things that I've done, that might surprise you when you consider how timid I am that I've been on such things. So thank you so much, Paul. That's absolutely brilliant. So we'll move on to Robert's Retro Gaming royalty, His Royal Highness. Here we go. What we got? Dell, here I am commenting on the 11th hour again. Oh, right. So you didn't do it too long ago. 11th hour again. I even watched almost all of this blog too. I still have about 20 minutes to go. Okay. That's not a problem. It's not. I've been on holiday with my family and listening in the mornings before everyone gets moving for the day. Thanks for keeping me company. And no, thank you for keep supporting me, Robert. You've got a fantastic channel. To have someone like you come along and watch my little thing, blog on here is a wonderful thing to do. Thank you so much. Absolutely brilliant. Then we get to Martroid. Okay, Martroid. I've been a bit. So he says, I've been a bit crook these last few days with a cold, Dell. Nothing major, but the knock on effects have been that it's taken me all week to get through your blog. And don't even get me started on your chat videos. I'll get there, mate. It's all thoroughly enjoyable stuff, so cheers. No, thank you so much again. And salute to Martroid, salute to His Royal Highness Robert Retro Gaming. Thank you so much just for making my day by dropping me a comment and saying that you're watching. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. And we move, salute to you. We move forward to Ian Hill, the Ramblings. My mate Ian, who I do a chat with on Wednesday. Let me just take a little swig. And let's see what we've got. We've got Bayek Delboy. Hope you and your mum are okay. Well, we've said a little bit about my mum, but I've got a funny feeling next week will be a little bit better for her. But that's what my hope is. I'll certainly do all I can to make sure that happens. I know that not everything has been good for you, but you have some good friends and followers on your channel who support and love what you do. In life, there's always going to be idiots who are incapable of being kind and respectful. It's very revealing when you see their true face. However, the majority in our lives are lovely, kind, honest, good people. Ah, what a nice sentiment there. Yeah, I mean, what can you say? I mean, do we really know people? But I always think that everybody I've ever come across in my life, including people at school that bullied me, there was good in them. They did things for a reason. They did things for a purpose. Maybe that purpose was to be malicious. I don't know. But I always like to think of people in a good light, and I'll continue to do that. Even friends from the past who I don't speak to anymore, you know, and there are plenty of those. You know, I used to go to America and all of those. I haven't spoken to them in ages. So, brilliant. My health again has dominated a lot of my time with the pain in my right foot and leg. It got to the point when I didn't want to go to bed. I was afraid of the pain getting worse. Painkillers didn't work. The nurse came on Friday. And I'm feeling some relief with the change in dressing and bandages. Oh, spot on. You know, this is the sort of thing that I'm talking about. That was what, 3 lines from Ian, but it's how many hours of time in his life not being able to get to sleep, where there's 8 hours, and if that's 5 times 8, that's a huge chunk of time. And then the pain through the day, all that was going on in his life, summed up in 3 lines. But with the positive at the end of, after the dressings, I felt so much better. You know, this is where you know we have such awful things happen in our lives. It's why it upsets me when I hear about my friends, you know, and the stuff that goes on in their lives, and I try to turn a frown upside down. Sometimes that'll be a gift, sometimes it'll be a phone call, whatever. It's whatever I think will do the best job and how bad the situation is for them. No other reason other than that. You know, it can at times look strange, like you're buying friendships and all of that sort of stuff. I don't buy friendships. What I do is try to relieve a horrible situation in their life by what I consider to be no more than a catch up and a pint in a pub. You know, it's just, I suppose what happens is over time you could total it all up and go, wow, did you spend that much? But I don't look at it things like that. It was at the time the person was feeling this way, and what could Denny Welly, or if you want to call me that, do to turn that frown upside down. That's it. No secret thing going on behind it. So he continues, I watched The Mist 2007, that's the year it came out, and reviewed it for my channel. It was another great Stephen King story, some brilliant acting, full of atmosphere, and great practical special effects. What an ending to the film. And this leads me to this week's question. Which memorable and unexpected or shocking endings in film do you remember? Best wishes and have a reet grand time. Oh, wow. I'll tell you what, I'm so glad that you watched a film that you thought was absolutely brilliant. I love ones that have got surprise or what it is, like shock endings. That's the thing. The difficulty I've got with those is I can mention the films, but I can't really say what it was that shocked you, because there will be other people that might want to go and watch the film and you've just gone and told them the bloody ending. So what was the point? So I'm going to name a couple of films and I hope that's going to bring back memories on why I thought it was memorable. So the number one, and the one that I think everybody's seen the ending to, so it doesn't really matter, is the 1968 Planet of the Apes. If you haven't seen the end of that film now, well, I don't know why you haven't. Maybe you're young, and or it's not your thing, science fiction or dystopian futures or whatever. So if you have, that's my number one shock ending film, always will be. I think it hit me at a time where that shock ending was just etched in my brain and will never go away. Don't think it'll ever go away. It'll be till the day I die will be the shock ending of shock endings. Of course, it was also partially screenplay written by my hero Rod Serling, who did The Twilight Zone. So brilliant. I'm going to name these others. These will be for obvious reasons. If you look at the title and you've seen the film, you'll know what the shock ending is. Empire Strikes Back. Yeah. The middle film of the Star Wars trilogy. Obvious reasons why that was a shock. Sixth Sense. Yeah. The problem that I've got with the Sixth Sense is it doesn't help for multiple watches. That one. Once you know what the shock ending is, it's diminished returns on rewatches. Unlike Planet of the Apes, even though I know what the end is for that, I still have great enjoyment going back to it. Maybe I'll watch The Sixth Sense again. It's been a couple of years now since I've seen it, so a good idea. Oh, the old classic Psycho. Yeah, what a shock ending for that one. I think many people were sort of guessed what the ending would be, but it was still a shock for me when I saw it. Take it like that. The Prestige, a film of one-upmanship in the magic world. Yeah. So one person does a magic trick, the other person's got to up that to the point where you have the shock ending. And that's all I can say about that one. Michael Douglas in The Game. That was a shock ending. Wow, yeah. Not much I could tell you about that other than that's an enjoyable romp, an enjoyable... Was it his third film? Yeah, I think it was David Fincher's third film. The first one, Alien 3. Second one was 7, or The Seven Deadly Sins. It's based on 7. And then I think it's The Game, isn't it? Yeah. So The Game was definitely there. And then one I've just watched recently again, The Conversation. Some people might think, well, that isn't really a shock in there. It's got one of the most shocking, disturbing endings if you watch it multiple times and understand the film. Yeah. The ending of that film is pretty much spot on for the character play that it is. You see what I mean? I think that's enough. There's no end of them. I mean, could I have brought up Fight Club? Yeah, Fight Club would have been one. The Usual Suspects? Yeah. shock ending, not really, but Donnie Darko, is that really a shock ending? Yeah, I think I've got the ones that I want to get out. And what a question. Thank you so much. Sorry I can't explain why they're shock endings. Maybe that'll give you or give people an objective to go and watch some of those films if they haven't done already. Maybe they're too well known and boring. I've actually just read out a lot of boring ones. To me, that was great to think about those. Yeah, that was brilliant. So salute to you, my friend. I'll look forward to this Wednesday. Such nice, kind words. Friendship for life, I think. With it, I can't see that. Can't see that ever ending. You know. We just make each other laugh. Brilliant. We move on to Mark Fletcher, and it's got Afternoon Delboy. Thanks for another great blog. I always appreciate the time you take to make it. I don't want to keep you too long this week, so I'll come straight out with the questions. We all know you are a massive fan of Spider-Man, but I was wondering if you have a favourite storyline or issue you could tell us, and also if you could have any piece of John Romita artwork, what would it be? I'm hoping you can put the image as a background for a minute, like you do on the live streams. For me, I will always think back to issue 33 of the original volume. That's Amazing Spider-Man, by the way, volume 1. When Spidey has to escape from all that fallen machinery. Yes, right, the Master Planner story. Yeah, that's the Doc Ock story. Sorry it's Ditko and not Romita, but that's classic Spidey determination at its best. Anyway, all the best to you and your mom. Looking forward to more videos. Nuff said. You see, where I say Excelsior, he says nuff said. All little things that make me smile. Keep Stanley's little quips alive now that he sadly passed. Certainly, my friend, with the artwork. Unfortunately, I have to move to another camera to do that. So I'm going to do that at the time of the trailers. Okay? So I'll make sure that... Oh, shall I? Hang on. Let's see if I can get this sorted. Hang on. Let's see. If I go to media playback there, where I'm all set up, maybe I can go through a few of these. Right, okay, let's see if this opens up. Yes. Amazing Spider-Man issue 75, Death Without Warning. This is what they call the Tablet in Time story. What do I like about this cover? Well, Romita now had been doing Spider-Man and a lot of covers since issue 39. So he was now well adjusted to doing covers. And what type of covers sell? You have to remember that comics at the front, this cover art has got to entice to actually get bought by a young boy or a young girl that has never read this comic before. There are collectors that would have bought it if you'd have put a stick character on the front, right? Because it's Spider-Man and you're a collector. But this is a time where comics are mass printed. They are considered in the States as being no more than the sort of thing you get in the funnies in a daily newspaper, and therefore they're trying to find their way into young boys and girls' hearts. What does this cover denote to you? And I want you to think about this. If you look at that cover, does it tell you anything about what's going on in this comic? It does in a way to me. I mean, it's got the big banner, Death Without Warning. And there's somebody on the floor. And here's Spider-Man walking towards us with his hand in his head. And you can see a reflection in the glass pane behind it. A very, very powerful piece. So it tells you in this story there is going to be a death. And it is going to probably be someone close or a meaningful death to the hero. And look at that anatomy. Wow. Look at the muscle tone and the drama of that piece. Absolutely marvelous. I love all the shading as well, all the cross hatching. Classic Romita, really. Later Romita, should I say. You'll see probably some early ones in a moment. So we'll get rid of that one. Let's see, what's another good one? Yeah, this one's very high up. Amazing Spider-Man 122. The Green Goblin's Last Stand. A well-known story, the death of Gwen Stacy. Started off in issue 121, ended in 122. 2 deaths in the story. But look at that artwork. You've got one of the most captivating villains of my childhood, the Green Goblin, which you might look at as going, that's just a clown. But look, you have to understand that he was a psychological villain to Spider-Man. He was the one who knew the secret identity of who Spider-Man is. Also, it was a family friend of his best friend's father, in fact. And at times of stress, he would sort of like get schizophrenic and turn into this persona, the Green Goblin. So here we are at what is scaringly expressed as the last stand, and it really is for this particular character for many, many years anyway. We won't talk about that in how they retcon these stories. But look at that artwork. You've got, I think it's the George Washington Bridge. You've got Gwen Stacy in the arms of Spider-Man. The Green Goblin throwing his pumpkin bombs. All the traffic that's going on. The smoke plumes coming out of the Goblin glider. And the text that basically says, you've killed the one I love the most, and for that you're going to die. Wow. Now, if that doesn't entice you to buy something, I don't know. But again, look at the pose. Spider-Man looking up at his enemy, straight into his eyes. The helplessness of the dead person in his arms, and the menace of somebody flying at you at, miles an hour, throwing deadly weapons. And it doesn't matter. He's standing still, saying, you think those things are ever going to frighten me? Yeah. What a cover. Love that. Romita at his best. Love that one. We'll do a couple of classics and then end that, I think. Here's a very, very early one. Yes. Spider-Man 39, the very first John Romita Sr. story, who took over from Ditko that we mentioned before earlier. Another Green Goblin. Only look at the peril in this cover. The Green Goblin having the last laugh, carrying our hero by rope across the whole cityscape of New York, unmasked. Wow. What are you going to do? You can't do nothing. All you can hope is that the Green Goblin is going to make a mistake. It's going to be that old adage, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. He's going to make a mistake. Wow. I love that cover. And if I was passing by a spinner rack back in the day when that came out, that'll instantly be in my pocket. I'll tell you that now. Fantastic. Again, very early work. So you'll see the difference between issue 122 and this one. I mean, we're talking of a span of 6 years or more between those comics. Yeah. So, you know, an artist develops over time, learns to draw faster, and probably add more definition. I always found Romita's cityscapes, although what some people consider them to be bland, in other words, there's nothing in that cityscape there that tells you it's New York. There's no Chrysler building. There's no, you know, anything that sort of like says it's the New York skyline. To me, that's what I thought New York skyline looked like for years reading the comics. So you'd have to excuse me on that one, but that, you know, maybe that's a bad side of comics, but I always thought, wow, they're all tall, these buildings. And we'll end with a classic, one that has been homaged by so many other comics. And it's just labelled with a couple of words, Spider-Man No More. There you see our hero, Peter Parker, walking toward us, all forlorn, with the spectre of Spider-Man in the background, looking over his shoulder at Peter Parker. Marvelous. So vivid in reds. I mean, it really is got very few colours on it, but it doesn't need anything more, is what I'm looking at with that. If you'd have drawn Spider-Man as a silhouette with the proper blue colours and stuff, wouldn't have had the same impact. This is where an artist knows minimize the palette. You don't need to do anything else. And I don't know if you've noticed, but there's what I consider this special thing that Romita draws. It's at the bottom where it says Spider-Man No More. It's where the silhouette of Peter Parker is. You'll see all these lines going towards him. There are some little dots between those lines. What Romita did was he blocked all of that ink in as if it was one big black block, and he got a razor blade and scratched away those lines to give it a sort of a dotted line type effect. So he used scraping to actually give a better, different type of shading to something. So many things to like about this cover. So many great memories when I think about it. In fact, this one happily goes with one of my capsule reviews of my statues, which is the Kingpin unboxing of my statue, because this was the issue that the Kingpin was introduced in. This is also the issue that was homaged in Sam Raimi's trilogy of Spider-Man. It was the second Spider-Man one, the one with Doc Ock in, Spider-Man No More. So much history around this one particular comic that you can't not have it. And we'll move back to camera view and just end with what's some storylines. Well, I mentioned some there, didn't I? There's the death of Gwen Stacy. There's the Tablet in Time. All of those I liked. The Master Planner, which you talked about, is a great story. Craven's Last Hunt, which is a very psychological story, where Craven, who has bested every living creature on the planet except Spider-Man, works out how he can defeat his nemesis and eventually beat Spider-Man. And that was become the Spider. That was basically the crux of it. That was a great story. Bit padding with this character called Vermin that's in it, but from a good point of view, it was great. Then of course there is Harry Osborn's swan song in the early days of Spider-Man, where he died being the Green Goblin just like his dad did. That's a powerful story. There are so many. My God, we won't. The only thing about asking a Spider-Man fan to talk about is the one thing we don't want to talk about is clones. So I won't talk about the clone story, but the very first clone story by Conway wasn't that bad. I thought it was quite an interesting story, to be quite honest. It's just later on, the clone story was expanded and ran over 3 years and nearly destroyed the comic. It was so convoluted, it was unbearable, really. So I hope that's interesting. I'll tell you what, and I'll mention one other, even though it's not looked at in a very positive light. In John Romita's last run, and just after the issue, around about issue 104, somewhere around there. Is that going 5, 6? The issue 107, I think it is. There is a story called Gang Warfare, and it introduces Hammerhead as well as Doc Ock, and all it is just who is going to control New York's gang scene. But it's got so many good things in there. First of all, John Romita's artwork went up a notch. The detail was just so good in those comics. It was a street level brawl thing, which was brilliant. Spider-Man lost his mask and had to wear a flimsy costumed version that he took from a fancy dress shop. So they had to draw him differently, and you could see his eyes for the first time because they wanted to show that this thing doesn't have the lenses that Spider-Man has that are two-way. That was interesting art there. And there was this power harness that if you put it on would treble your powers. That's what they were all gunning for. Brilliant story. Love that one. Even though, like I say, someone look at that and going, cheesy rubbish. As a kid, I loved it. And the artwork just settled it for me. That's the end of the shout-outs then, I think. Or is it? What else did I say? Yes, I did say that I'd go to my retrospective and read out anything that was there. And let's have a quick look if I can. And just mention a few other names. So along with my shout outs that you've seen before, there's Stephen Moores, Colin Thompson, Mondo Chelloveck Movies, Seb's Place, Andy Likes Stuff. They all commented, but didn't on the blog, but commented on my Biggles retrospective. All liked my retrospective. Thank you so much for that. Appreciated that you stepped by and commented on it. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. And that brings an end to the shout outs. For that, I'm just going to go back and read out the last couple that I think were there. Let's see if I can get back to where I was. So the next one we've got is Mamemeister, just quickly. He's just put United Kingdom, not England, which I didn't understand what he meant there. And then he commented actually in a private message to me. He just said, sorry, buddy. It's a pet hate of his, and I totally get this. When I was talking about the Olympics last week, and we were talking a little bit about where the medal table was, I said, accidentally, England. It's not. It's actually Great Britain or United Kingdom. Either is acceptable. It's a pet hate. Don't say England. Fair enough. I'll try to remember that. When you're doing a blog, word slip, it's the only thing I can sort of like say. Then we moved to Colin Jones. So my salute to my friend Mamemeister. Thank you so much. We moved to Colin Jones, aka Ponder, my friend, who will put me right on everything I've done wrong, or just repeat everything that I said, which was the same thing anyway. I don't mind. Love it. It's great. So Colin starts off with, those thugs were just looking for an excuse to cause harm. It's not religion. It's anything that doesn't fit their extremely narrow and intolerant view. Yeah. So, of course, we've all got our own opinions on this. I agree with that statement wholeheartedly. We just all want it to end, don't we? Sorry for those who don't like it, but you will never hear me complain about hot weather. I thrive in the heat. That's all right, mate. I don't think I ever complain. I do suffer a little bit because of hypertension and the fact that I'm naturally, therefore, my blood is sort of like warm. So I just get very uncomfortable. And, of course, I'm not thin and handsome like you, Colin. So, of course, I'm quite big and bulky. And that also doesn't help with the hot weather. Plus, you've got a swimming pool. So, stuff you bastard. Anyway. Gotta love trains. They can be nightmare unless you're familiar with it all. Yeah. And we don't all know your job, so thank you very much for that. Sounds like you had a really good day out. I did. That Wednesday. It went so well. What a great week, really, when I look back at it. AI, you say, can be useful in some cases. Very useful. Being creative, whether it's art, music, literature, or computer programming, are not those cases. LLMs, large language modules, are more like advanced search engines and, as you mentioned, are easily polluted. Compilers don't need to be AI. They work far better just with a decent dumb compiler. Now, I agree totally wholeheartedly with what you just said. When I answer something about AI, I'm talking about something it can't do yet, right? And you're quite right, it can't do it. But who's to say that it won't, right? Anybody that says it won't, I think is looking at life with blinkers on. You know, the Shire horses with their things. They're looking forward and they're just seeing what they see and not the wider picture. So when I said about compiling and making the code smaller and being more efficient, why can't AI do that? Why in the future couldn't something be developed that looks at your code and goes, that mathematics works, but it's a long-winded way to get to it. And if you did it this way, it would be much faster. I mean, we've all seen Countdown, haven't we? We do the maths and they say, get to this figure, and it's got the clock down. And they go, how far did you get? Oh, I got the right number. And she draws on the board, this times this, added to this, gets this. Right. And the person that did the answer themselves and they put theirs up did it in a totally different way. Got to the same result. But it could be that their page was like a page long. Oh, I added this together with this, added this together with this, added those two figures to get this, times that figure by this figure to get this, where the other person just went, I added that, times it by that, got that. See what I mean? So why can't AI be used in that way? Forget the compiler part. Say there's something else that writes at machine level language. A new piece of technology that allows us to be backwardly compatible is there, but totally written in another way. You have to. I've opened my eyes to say it's not there yet. Do I want it? Possibly. But what I'm saying is, and I wholeheartedly said this in my statement, I do not want AI to take the creative away. I don't want it to start writing stories for me. I don't want it to start drawing images for me. I want that to come from the person that's writing it. Everything else behind it, yeah, why not? As long as they've done it and it's just been amended to make it more efficient, yeah. So that was that, really, Colin. No more than that. Not sure about shoot 'em up power-ups, but my favourite game weapon ever is the gravity gun from Half-Life 2. Oh yeah, what a weapon. Half-Life 2. What a game, really. Including Half-Life 1. I even like Blue Shift and all of that. Great set of games. I like that stand you have on your teleprompter. Yes. The thing itself looks identical to mine. I think you'll find it, because it is. When I first showed it, I told you what the manufacturer was. The box is now back there somewhere. It doesn't really mention the brand on here, so I can't tell you. But it's a great teleprompter. The software I have is Elegant Teleprompter Pro, $2.99. I tried the free version first. The bullet point method is what I have been doing so far. I think I'll be doing a mixture of both in future, using bullet points for free flow and script when I need to be specific. That's exactly what I was trying to get at. And to be honest with you, matey, I didn't use the free version either. The version I bought was Elegant Teleprompter, exactly the same one. Just to show you on my phone, it's got the same icon. If I can get it out. Oh, I'm not doing very well here. Hang on. If I can get there, you'll see, I think. Elegant Teleprompter. At the bottom there, a bit out of focus. Then it goes all blurry, so... Yeah. Anyway, Elegant Teleprompter, and that was the developer that helped me with my controller, because I twinned it in Android and iOS mode, where there is a power procedure where you turn it on and hold a button, and it pairs it into just Android or just iOS. And that fixed the issue. With the remote, it has two modes via a small switch top left of the device. I keep it in controller mode because I like to keep it simple. That's what he's talking about there on the edge. That little switch. Correct. PC didn't count for my question. I look forward to seeing that statue. Yeah, I will get it out one day. Nearly $1,500 that statue was. HAL was far more advanced than any AI we have right now and used only a fraction of the energy. Rants definitely help me with my mental health, though my rants are rarely against specific individuals. What anyone does on their own channel is their own business, providing it's not causing harm. Watch it or not, that's my choice. Exactly, which is why I was saying about those... what I was actually saying is that they're becoming popular. I've noticed that blogs are turning actually into specific videos. They say, I can't hold back anymore, I've got to rant. And all I was saying about those is that there's always somebody that is a big follower of someone that might get the wrong interpretation of something, depending on how you word it. And every rant I've ever seen so far, I've not felt that way. They've done it the right way, but the warning signs can be there. That's in somebody else's hands, not people that I know, but in somebody else's hands. That, again, without them naming and shaming, they could do some help their own mental health, but also degrade somebody else's. It's always a danger, you know. Most of my rants, because I rant as well, are about corporations, not about people. It's like, my company's being like this, or this company that I bought this from's acting like this, etc., etc. And those are the rants that I do, rather than about platforms that I use or whatever. So it's each to their own, really, matey, on that one. I know the one thing is that every rant that I've seen done eloquently has been spot on, and most of the people that I'm subscribed to have done it the right way. Oh, Runaway, the 1984 film. I love that film. Only 46% on Rotten Tomatoes, which just goes to show it's all subjective. Very much so indeed. My question, what is your favourite pinball table and why? Pretend you're describing this to someone who is clueless about the differences in pinball. Oh, you bastard. Well, I know what my favourite pinball table is. It's Bally Midway's Twilight Zone, because I love the TV series. And when that finally turned up in a local pub of mine in the early 1990s, I was hooked. And I always turned around and said, even though pinball is not my big passion, if I ever had the money, that's the one pinball table I'd buy. Over Spider-Man, I would buy the Twilight Zone. Why do I like the Twilight Zone so much? Hard to say. Maybe it's because I get the mechanics more with that one. There is a bit of a story, but like anything in pinball, there isn't really a story. It's a set of objectives. In the Twilight Zone, it's all about the iconic door from the TV series that spins around, opens up, and you go in through the door into your imagination, right? So in the game, you've got to light up, oh God, how many was it? 14 panels of this door. It's separated by 14 panels. And the 15th one, the door knob, opens the door into a wizard mode, a sort of like a lost Twilight. What's it called? What was it called? I think the mode was called Lost in the Zone, something like that. Now, to do that, there are tasks. And you have to, and there were all sorts of things that are on this pinball. If anybody's ever seen a pinball of that particular area, you'll know that there's more than just two flippers at the bottom. There are little flippers and sub games in the corners of the playing field, and there will be all of the normal targetings that you have to knock them all down to light up something else. And pinballs are very heavy on magnets, so they're gravity driven and magnet driven, all mechanical. But there's a couple of things that are on this pinball table that make me laugh. There's a gumball machine, right? In this gumball are a load of actual ball bearings that could be used as the ball for pinball, right? There is one in there in that gumball which I think is not made of metal, and so is not affected by all the magnets on the table. So when these gumballs come out and it turns into multi-ball where you've got 5 or 6 balls, one of them will come out which is white, and it's not made of metal, it's made of ivory, I think, if I remember right. It was very expensive material, whatever they used, that up the price of the table considerably when it was bought. Which therefore is very hard to control, because basically the magnets don't pull it anywhere. All it's got is just gravity to come down and out wherever you flip it to. There is also a working 12-hour clock. The ball hits the clock and it sets the clock in motion, and it does certain things to other areas of the game. That was quite good. So I've mentioned the power ball, which I think is like an ivory or a ceramic ball. And then there is a power field. It's like a triangular playing field, and it contains magnets that propel the ball. It just keeps moving when it goes in it. Very hard to control. And in this triangular, it's got 2 parts to it, and when the ball finally comes out of that triangle, you're then back into the main playing field. All of that sort of like doesn't sound too exciting, but you have to really play it. And you've got the bombarding music and sound effects. You've got Rod Serling's voice saying welcome to the Twilight Zone and all of this sort of stuff. Absolutely fantastic. When that pinball table came out, I think it was like $15,000. I know that the production number was not that high. It was so expensive that I think there were about 16,000 made, and then there are less and less of them because the more parts you put in it, the more magnets you put in it, the more that the machine will destroy itself, basically malfunction to the point where you need a fantastic engineer to repair it, and Midway don't do that anymore. So you're stuffed, really. But I hope that's given you I didn't do it excitingly enough. That's the problem, Colin. That pinball table is iconic to me. As iconic as anybody that turns around and says they like the Star Trek The Next Generation pinball table, the one who turns around and says they love the, I don't know, Addams Family, the Doctor Who table, the Terminator 2, and all of the others that are so iconic that have got guns and T-2000s and T-1000, should I say, from Terminator and all that sort of stuff. There's Predator tables, comic book tables, Spider-Man ones, Avenger ones. And yet, whenever I go to Pinfest, which I won't be doing this year, unfortunately, I like the older ones. I go specifically every year to play my Twilight Zone table, the one that I love. But then I'm more engrossed on the ones of that era and down than the ones that go up. So I like to play all the older ones that, are of a similar age, like 1990s, 1992 early. But the 1950 ones, the 60 ones, the 1970 ones, all brilliant. There's a Spider-Man 1970s one by Gottlieb that for years and years and years was that's the only table I ever want at pinball, and I'd die happy if I had it. But I've just mentioned that Twilight Zone is now the one, and that's quite true. The only reason I'd want the Spider-Man one now is the artwork, because it was drawn by Romita Senior, and you know how much I like Romita Senior. Salute, my friend. Thank you so much. I hope that's given you an answer. And the last comment is from Jim Jam Movies, who's put, wow, what a great blog as always. Great to hear you have discovered Lisa Loves channel. Yes, the Lisa Loves channel. Brilliant channel. Keep up the sterling work. Been an absolute pleasure meeting you this week. And that was obviously last week. And we had a great time, Jim Jam, Denny and I. Absolutely brilliant. So I hope that's filled you in with some of the things that's gone on in my life this week, put a few things to rest, talked about my mother, all of that sort of stuff, because we're going to be moving in a moment into what I've watched on YouTube and what I've watched on YouTube of all of my friends. But I'm just going to take a quick break now and basically come back like a giant refreshed. I'm finding it a little bit uncomfortable, and I need to just take some more tablets to ease my back a little bit. So won't be long, back in a minute. And I'm back. Just splashed my face, put some deep heat on, and I was watching a little clip of somebody, which I suppose I should put on watched on YouTube, but I can only tell you that it was about the Nottingham Retro Game Expo that was on last week, I believe. There was this lady explaining that she had a great time, and she was showing off some of the things that intrigued her. And there was one thing that really intrigued me. I don't know if I can explain it very well, and I haven't got the lady's channel in front of me. But if you just type in Nottingham Game Expo, I'm sure you'll see it was a lady. It was a lady called Linda, I think, and I think her channel starts with that word. If you can imagine a 3D with electronic pages, yeah, that has therefore a plinth and a vertical page, and on the vertical page are 3D sort of like blocks, like skyscrapers or things, platforms that you leap from, and you flip the pages over when you go off the page, and you want to turn the page to the next one, so that it's like a flip screen platformer, but it's in 3D because it's natural 3D, and the image is generated on the actual paper like a Kindle. Brilliant looking thing. It was absolutely wonderful. I thought, wow, but I bet you that costs a lot. Bloody hell. Didn't look and see what the prices were. Can't remember what the thing was called, but it was just amazing. And I bring that up because I don't talk about games too much. I talk everything nostalgia. Don't get me wrong, and games do come into it, but ought to do a little bit more of that as well. I mean, I've just talked a little bit about comic books today, so this is a multi sort of like level blog, and it'll always remain that way, as much as sometimes the film thing seems to be top heavy, but you know, films are a big part of my life, physical media, and what I buy each week. So there you go. So watched on YouTube, and we get the two that I always watch out the way: This Week in Retro and Tech Moan. This Week in Retro was a joy as always. They had the 3 subjects. This week they were the Mega of Mega Drive, Battle of the GUIs, or Graphic User Interfaces, and World's First Proper Game Boy. All intrigued me. I think the GUI one probably more than anything, because it takes me back to the days of Amiga Workbench, but they didn't talk much about it. They talked more about GEM than anything in that particular article. But go and watch it. Always interesting. And Techmoan had a fun one this week, and it's called Improving CDs with Negative Ions. Oh my God. Now, he's shown in the past these devices that are supposed to improve the sound of a CD, and they were shown by shaving off the beveled edge of a CD so that light bounce isn't a thing when you're using the laser, and all sorts of crap like this, which have no scientific fact in them whatsoever and cost an absolute fortune, and were really to entice you to try and improve things. Nonsense. So he had this sort of like, what could I call it? A device that looked like one of those nutritional bullets. You know, those cylinder things? Right at the top was where a light shone through, and the CD sort of like fitted into a groove, right? And it fitted into this groove, and underneath it was a grid, and inside this grid was special magnetized or some type of metal balls that a fan shone a light through, and then shone negative ions pushed onto your disc, and it was supposed to increase the clarity of any CD. Bollocks. I can't say about that. So it was 25 minutes of absolute joy to watch, because it just made me smile and laugh so much. I needed that laugh and smile on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock, I can tell you. Absolutely wonderful. So what else have I watched this week? So I'll just read it out verbatim. Steve Knows is a channel that I watched this week. He did more VR stuff, and I'm interested in VR because of what Bob Art said last week. So he did Quest's new, so this is the MetaQuest, the MetaQuest's new features, the MetaQuest's 3 new enhancements, and VR wins, which was a article about how VR is winning in certain aspects of our electronic community at the moment. Brilliant it was. And then, because of music that was played on Mamemeister's Waffle last week, I got into listening to some TV themes, and Barry Gray's music came into my head. So I went to the Jerry Anderson YouTube page and listened to Podcast 69, which is actually all designated and dedicated to music maestro Barry Gray. And there was a rather unheard of interview with Barry Gray, and there aren't many of them out there in the world, and it was brilliant. I listened to that and I was riveted. It was about 50 minutes long, 40 minutes long. Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. Definitely listen to that. Then I listened to Adam Martin. Now, I've listened to Adam Martin's channel quite a lot over the years. He usually talks about things like the individual ITV networks' own symbolism. You know, like ATV had the three rings, Central had the ball with the coloured globe on the side. Thames Television had the famous drawbridge, London Bridge, that was mirrored underneath from the Thames, etc., etc. But he did an article called ITVX is Dying. And ITVX is another streaming service that is heavily advertised on ITV, which you can get it for free, but also is a paid subscription service. And it lost 500,000 last year of people buying the paid service, which he said he doesn't think it's a major thing to think about at the moment, but it must be worrying to them starting off and then losing 500,000. Their channel costs $5.99 a month, so not exactly in the high tier of Disney's and Paramount's, but it must be a slight worry to them. All you get with it really is the adverts taken away. So the $5.99 gives you ad free, and that's where the revenue pays for the adverts that you're not watching. Makes sense in a way, but it looks very much like people are reverting down to the lower tier, and I have to say to that, well, of course we are. There's so many streaming services now vying for our attention, all offering what most people are saying the cost of a coffee. But if you have so many of them, then basically it's not the cost of a coffee anymore. It's turning into a 30, 40 or £50 thing every month if you've got several of them. So yeah, that was interesting. Then there was one that really made my piss boil. Apparently there was an interview with a new CEO of Logitech, and this is on the channel Random Frank P. And I put this in Discord as well. Okay. There's an interview with the new CEO, and apparently they had one of these brainstorming sessions. And at this brainstorming session, this CEO came up and mentioned at an interview the possibility that they might do a subscription service for mice. So think about this for a minute. There are already subscription services to printers where you pay a subscription, you get the ink. If you stop paying your subscription, at a certain point, your printer doesn't work anymore. It's supposed to be a continual thing so that your service is not disrupted, because you keep paying the subscription and you keep therefore getting the service. They want to take this into mice. So at some point you bought a mouse like this one. I don't buy Logitech, I buy Razer and Corsair and so forth. And all of a sudden it says your mouse, a message comes up on the screen, your mouse no longer works, your subscription has come to an end, please pay $19.95 to make your mouse work again. Well, bollocks to that. Their reasoning behind it is that even though you bought a product 2 years ago, they continue to do updates for it and add features. They may be just lighting features or something like that, but they think it's worthwhile to put in their business model a subscription service. So, and all of a sudden your mouse stops working because you haven't paid the subscription. Imagine that. Awful. Christ, I'd just go out and buy a £5 mouse. What's this $19.99 nonsense? Bloody hell. Awful. Made my piss boil, but also made me smile in the absurdity of it all. The next one was Sonic Star. I think that's what they call themselves. Sonic Star. It's a small group of people that basically restore deleted scenes from films, and they've restored back a famous partially filmed scene from Star Trek the Motion Picture called The Memory Wall, which basically then turned into the Vija walkthrough later on. So they totally redesigned it, reshot it, and made it a totally different thing. But until that point, what happened was when you went through the Vija outer wall, you turned up into the memory wall, and this memory wall was a circular thing, and it had lots of banks of memory, and these creatures and electronic devices attacked you when you tried to access the memory wall. I'm glad they restored it, but I'm also glad it wasn't in the film. Do you see what I mean? It didn't. I think the way they did it was better, but maybe that's more. I've watched the film so many times, I can't think of any other way of doing it. So a little bit of that creeps in, and from that point of view, um, you have to take what I say with a pinch of salt, like anything that I say with a pinch of salt. It might have worked. You might find some great enjoyment out of it. I got great enjoyment watching what they did, but glad it wasn't in it. Then we've got Celebs Close Up, a channel called Celebs Close Up. The reason for that is I've got a favorite actor of mine and famous, who's now long gone from us, has creeped in this week because I've been thinking about things like The Fly and The Mask of the Red Death and all these sort of things from Corman about Vincent Price. And they did an interview with Vincent Price with Michael Aspel. And I watched it, and Vincent Price just destroyed him. But it was insightful because apparently he did the voiceover for the music to Thriller, and he didn't get a penny for that. He did it out of the goodness of his heart. They made millions, and all he got was a picture of him standing next to Michael Jackson. That's it. And he said after that, a lot of rock artists wanted his voice on their records. It started off a trend. Brilliant little interview, loved it. And I just want to mention, before I get into some of the film stuff that I've been watching from, which I always watch each week, and I mentioned to you guys, there is somebody who I watch on occasion called Physical Media Life, who's going through a bad time at the moment. She did a video this week about mental health, how it's affecting her, what she's doing about it. I urge anybody to look that up. And if you've ever got any mental health problems at the moment, things that are causing you anxiety, it's always best to be in a group and see how other people are handling it. I can always give you my advice, which is I empty my mind, go for a walk, all of those things that basically clear the anxiety and stress out of my life, which I need to do because of my heart operation that I still need to have, which will be happening now, I've been told, verbally, not through letter, that it's going to be close to the 26th of September. So it's a way off yet. So I'm constantly de-stressing myself and not letting things get on top of me, and won't let things get on top of me, no matter who or what they are that cause them. It's for my own health. It's my own body's defense mechanism. And anybody that knows me and respects me and understands my background and where I've come from will know that's the best thing to do, and will bear that in mind when they're having a chat with me. You've got to. Nobody wants to cause stress on people. With work, you can't help it, but in a personal thing, of course you can. So we move on to some of the things that I've watched that have interested me, or are so top notch you can't miss them. Now, if you're ever into unboxings and want to know a little bit about Jaws 3, or you want to know a little bit about Atomic Blonde, which has just come out as a box set, or a little bit about the 10 greatest 4K transfers that are hardly ever talked about, go over to Euphoria Pictures. I've mentioned his name a million times, and as long as he keeps doing great work, I'll keep mentioning it, because this is a person that basically wants to help the community, but also talk about things that are not similar to others. So sick of looking at certain other unboxings and they're all the same. Here's my unboxing of this. Here's the front. Here's the back. I'm rotating it around. Here's what's inside it. Great, isn't it? It's out now. Buy. This person does more than that. You know, shows you the inside pamphlet, why he bought it, what the film was made him buy it, what the price was, all of that sort of stuff. He's got one top telly, so he can obviously talk with total confidence on the picture quality. He's got a top of the range Sony, which I'm dead jealous about, by the way. I don't mind saying it, you bastard. If I ever go to your house, that thing's coming under my arm. With probably 3 other people helping to carry it, because I'm not that strong. But anyway, what can I say? Euphoria Pictures. Then we got Ian Hill, The Ramblings. What can I say about my friend Ian Hill, The Ramblings? I've talked about him earlier on. We do a chat. He talks to me every week. Always intrigued about how my week has been. Wants my channel to grow. Obviously watches it and talks about it. Can't wish for a nicer guy. What's he done this week? Here we go. Chapter and verse. Top 5 films between 1974 and 1980. Think about that for a minute. 74 to 80. That is 6 individual videos of top 5 films each year. A Night to Remember review, which is about Titanic. Go and watch that. That was brilliant. I don't know too many Titanic films. That was brilliant. Doctor Who Pirates Planet review. That's the key to time. Always nice to get a retrospective of classic Doctor Who. He's doing Tom Baker, so it's a very prolific era to talk about. The Mist review, which he talked about in his own blog. He obviously is very happy with what he watched of that film, so it's obviously going to be a good one and a worthy watch. He did a review of SFX magazine September 24, which was all about, I think, Alien Romulus this month rather than Doctor Who. And of course, there's the Ian and Del live stream. I think that's what he calls it now as well. We've done 18 of them now. 18. I only think I've done about 4. That's how fun they are. Absolutely brilliant. If you're not subbed to him, you're doing yourself a disservice. I can't force you to do. I'm not trying to force you to. You just need to, because there's just so much diversity in there. Music, films, magazines, TV, everything. Just covers the lot. Then we get to Mondo Chelloveck movies. I've watched a lot of him just recently. Loved every single one of them. He did Blood-Sucking Freaks, a 4K review. Now, this is where I learn a little bit about horror. So I learned an awful lot from him. But I also learn presentation skills. This is the way to present. He's got a very sort of like great background that he always does his videos against, which is gorgeous and lovely looking. I wish I could do the same, only I live in a 19-foot room by 9 foot wide, and my whole house is in here, and I've got nowhere to put it, so it just turns into a mess. But I'd love the days of where I could have done this from my own house back in the day, because I had my own 3-bedroom house, and it would have looked as lovely as his. It is. I'll tell you what though, it looks very clean. It's got a fantastic family around him that clean his stuff. My God. Lovely. Then we got Jim Jam, my friend Jim Jam. No end from him this week. Pickups from Facebook. He bought some stuff off of Facebook Marketplace. Got some bargains. Wow. He went on holiday to Nuki, I think, Cornwall, and showed off all of his footage there. He looks like he had a whale of a time. When I spoke to him last, he was saying that he was driving home. He was in a it took him 7 hours to get home. That's always the bad thing about holidays, isn't it? The journey home, the sadness of it all, um, and the fact that the bloody journey seems like an eon. I remember when I used to go over to California, it was like, and now you're going to get on the plane and it's a 12-hour journey. You're going 12 hours. And then when I get off, it's going to be rainy London. And then the next day or the day after, work. Oh, wow. That's going to cheer you up, isn't it? Hate that bit. And then one of his passions is Never Ending Story, which is celebrating its 40th anniversary. There's a documentary that's just come out that you can watch on Prime. And normally he said he would wait, but it's such his favourite film, he did pay the rental for it, and he said he loved it. With a heart, he said the documentary was. So that, to me, shows there's a passion person who directed this. It's got me intrigued. I have got Prime. I have watched Never Ending Story. I might just pull the trigger and watch that myself. And then there is Lucy Loves, who I mentioned earlier on. Not much out this week from her, but of course that gives me a chance to look at the back catalogue. But she did a review of a film that's at the pictures at the moment called Harold and the Purple Crayon. And she said, and I quote, the worst film she's ever seen. Now, I always take those things with a pinch of salt. It wouldn't be a film that I'd want to see because it's aimed at children, right? But from what she was saying, I think even children would see the error in the story. So I think it's probably one that I'm intrigued now I'll probably watch because it's mentioned that I shouldn't watch it. Do you know what I mean? When someone turns around and says, don't watch this, you go, I'm going to watch it now, just to see if it's as bad as what they say. So that was that. And I did, I wish I could tell you more about some of my other friends. I usually watch Muckman-Movies and other such ones, but there wasn't so much content this week from them. Muckman-Movies, though, did point out a shout out that I wish to say thank you to him for. And apparently one of the videos that he did has had a mixed response, and he doesn't understand why. And I turned around to him and I said, well, you haven't said which one it is, but I haven't found anything wrong in any of your videos so far. I definitely know negatives. So over my head, matey. But I wish you well, and keep bringing out that stuff, and more steelbooks, please. More steelbooks. More, just for me. Anyway, we get to your YouTube, and this is where we get towards the end now. So this is the stuff that I watched based on people that I know through Discords and are my friends, subscribers to this channel. And if they're not subscribers, they're just top people that do great content. So we start off with Down the Rabbit Hole. Oh, I don't know if he's on vacation or not, but he did two that I saw. There was a horrifying D&D experience. He told a story of what happened to him or something, or what he heard while doing a D&D setup. I'm not heavy onto D&D, and I commented to him saying I wish I was more. I bought the Marvel TSR D&D set back in the 70s, but nobody wanted to play it, and I only bought it really for the artwork. But I'd have loved to still have that set. I think it goes for a bomb these days, because I think Marvel lost the license with TSR, so you can't get it anymore. So it's scalpers, eBay, blah blah blah, if you want that stuff. And then he reviewed his New Wave Toys little replica of the game Berserk, which was brilliant, and it had a happy ending because he got his. It was missing parts, and eventually developed a fault, for which he said the customer service was absolutely phenomenal, and he got a replacement, and all the missing parts were there. Brilliant, absolutely fantastic. A happy ending. I love happy endings. Brilliant. Salute, my friend, and we move to Robert's Retro Gaming. Oh, royalty, you know. Like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if it's his butler, just like Mondo, that actually writes the comments, because he's just so high up in his kingmanship. But anyway, what did he do this week? Minecraft Skyblock Episode 3, Dwarf Fortress Episode 19, ZX Spectrum gameplays of Lode Runner and Finders Keepers, Commodore 64 gameplay of David Midnight Magic, Atari ST gameplay of Ghosts and Goblins, SNES gameplay of Magic Sword, 8-bit Atari gameplay of Tank and Elevator Repairman, and a small channel update. And my congratulations to you, sir, for reaching 1,000 subs. By the way, another congratulation milestone is to my friend Jim Jam, who's just reached 700. Absolutely marvellous. These people deserve so much more. And they not only entertain us, but they educate us. Don't get me wrong. They're not being paid for this. These are small channels. Every single person I've ever known right now, doesn't matter where they are, whether they see my channel, been part of me and my life the last couple of years, fantastic channels, every single one of them. I've shouted them out. I've rung the bell from the rafters to say watch their stuff. And just because I don't mention it right now doesn't mean they're still not doing fantastic content. Sub to them, like them. They deserve your attention. And especially when you consider what's on bloody TV at the moment. What a load of bollocks. Right. Salute, Robert, and on to 20th Century Gaming, who is honestly one of the most skillful game players I've ever seen in my life. Ray C's another one, but 20th Century Gaming, my God. He did a C64 long play on Cyberdyne Warrior. Is trying to get to grips with one of the hardest games I've ever seen in my life, called Roller Coaster on the Spectrum. And oh my God, that thing would infuriate me to the point where I'd say, fuck this, and chuck the joystick out the window. This guy's, I will beat it, is his motto. And he did a live play on Friday, which I was engrossed in. It was great to actually go and watch something different on Friday and watch him try and do a live play on things. And he played some C64 stuff, the roller coaster game I just talked about. We all had a lovely chat. We all played, asked him to play certain games. Brilliant. Then we've got Colin Jones, aka Ponder. Now, what can I say about my friend? What a nice guy. Train driver, entrepreneur, and a person I'm proud to call friend. He did Ponder's Vlog 73 and Mamemeister's Kerfuffle on Track and Field. All stuff that's trending at the moment in our little community, because the Olympics and Track and Field has all been on Mamemeister's channel and now on Colin's. This is how we cross-pollinate across the mediums. And that certainly does that. And then his Vlog, I always look forward to his Vlog. And he used his this teleprompter for the first time. And what a great job he did. I need to start using mine. I need to get off my arse. That's what I need to do. Then we got Seb's place. And I've told you about Seb before. My God, how he's leaped and bound with his production values. He did an episode on his channel this week called Horace Lied to Me, which is a reference to an old Spectrum and Commodore 64 classic called Hungry Horace. And basically he told us a few facts about it that some people might not know about. So that's definitely worth a watch. And then we've got my mate Mamemeister. What can I say about my mate Mamemeister? Always entertains us on a Sunday when he can, playing games. he did a Friday waffle this time, a driving one, paying very close attention to the road. No danger at all whatsoever. He's not looking at anything other than the road when he's doing it. It's just you just hear his voice, talking about things that are going on in his life at the moment. A little bit of retrospective about stuff that's going on with gaming, and he did a live stream on Saturday as well, where we were playing a little quiz, guess the TV for tune, which is brilliant. And you can play along, hopefully, with that. I don't know whether it's still up. But I do know that when you usually watch live things back, the transcript isn't there. So basically, you could probably guess the tunes yourself. I'm not sure if it's there, though. He's going through some things at the moment. I've told him I'm inviting him onto a chat this week. Not sure when it'll be. Probably a Thursday. Rings the right sort of vibe to me, because Wednesday I do a stream myself, and on Friday I'll be preparing for something that's happening to me on Saturday. But Mamemeister, what a guy. Had a week off work, had a lot to do. He played some games this week as well that I know of. He played on his new Star GP that I bought for him, and he bought me a game, which similar but nowhere near as good as New Star GP. We both agreed on that. We went, yeah, this isn't quite as good. It's more like a Virtua Racer, and it's in early access at the moment, but it's equally as fast and has some interesting features that aren't even in New Star GP. So I thanked him for that, loved it, played it a little bit, but I've told him that currently at this particular point in time, and I haven't spoken to him today, I am beating him in the lap times on 2 tracks, and he needs to have another little go to see if he can dethrone me. And that's the end of that. We now switch cameras, don't we? Because we get to Galaxy Note Cam and we talk a little bit about what has arrived in the post this week. I don't do those unboxing things. I do that as I retrospective. So these are purposely here to tell my nephew and nieces what I bought this week and whether they're worth money or not, because I will mention that. So this was bought cheap, but is worthy of some money. It's because it's ex stock, but it's the Matrix tin set steelbooks. Originally, when this came out, it was like £100. I didn't even pay a third of that for this. So sometimes it pays to hold back, because what happens is, I think certain distributors will then not sell the stock. It's taking up too much space, and they then flog it on at a cheaper price. Matrix has obviously been one of those. Then we've got these. This arrived yesterday. Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, which was talked about in my blog when it came out as a film. Looking forward to watching this. It got mixed reviews. I remember some people turning around and saying it's not a Mad Max film because it's told from a different perspective through a lady's eyes. And I really want to see it because it sort of like concludes my Mad Max watching, if you see what I mean. I've watched them since the first Mel Gibson first film, so that's brilliant. So I'm looking forward to that. I've already talked about this once already, Biggles. This I bought for my friend as well. I did a retrospective of it. It was really just a fun thing to do. It was dirt cheap, so that's great. There's a story behind this one, Jaws. This is that Film Vault Jaws that's got so much controversy about it at the moment because of cancellation of orders. Big history behind this, which really just has a happy ending in the fact that I managed to get my copy and an extra one because I did order 2, and I ended up with a discount. they told me that the whole thing was going to be cancelled at one point. Then one turned up, then the second one turned up, and then a cancellation and refund of my money came through on my credit card. And this is after complaining to WH Smith, which I was doing on behalf of me and the person I was buying the second copy for. And in the end, I got it, and money, zero. What can I say? Win-win, really. Not trying to brag on that one. It was just great to get it because it's, look at it. I mean, it's such a lovely looking cover. You know, to anybody that's looking out for this, definitely worth getting. I've already talked about this with Euphoria Pictures, and that's Atomic Blonde. This is this Arrow. This is this is it Arrow? No, Universal. This is Universal's box set with steelbook. You ever want to see a review done right, go over to Euphoria Pictures, as I said before. That's not me bragging and bigging something up. If a channel is good, it's good. Can't say anything fairer than that. And then the last one is The Fall Guy. That came, I think that came from Amazon. Yeah, this a blandish looking steel book, a film that I didn't really get on with, but it's an extended cut, so it doesn't even have a rating on it. Oh, it does on the back, 12. Sorry, look at that. Didn't see that. TV series is memorable to me because I was of a certain age where I loved Heather Locklear. And Conceivers was obviously played by Lee Majors, who was the Barnet Man, and it had a catchy theme tune, so there was a lot to like. But from a film perspective, really, it should be a film called Hooper 2. Look up the film called Hooper, and you'll understand why I look at it like that than anything else. So we move now to media playback. There we are, and you know what this next section is. We're moving into trailers. So I'm going to shut the microphone up, play some trailers, and please excuse me if this delays the upload of this video or if I get any copyright strikes. I've had to reduce the trailers down to 3 because when I tried to download the trailers to the other films, too much pop music in it, where I thought I'd get a copyright strike. So I'm going to shut up now and let you look at a couple of interesting trailers.
Whatever you have to do. However long it takes. Promise me you'll find your way home. Furiosa. Give me this promise.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines.
The darkest of angels. procrastinators. Do you have it in you to make it epic?
That's me, Colt Sievers, and this is my hero's journey.
Should we just start from the top?
Okay, I'm not the hero of this story. I'm just a stunt guy. Trying to look cool in front of the director of this movie. That's her, who I just so happen to have a major crush on.
We need to keep it super profesh.
Cool. Trying to make out?
Nope.
Because I don't either. It's not what I'm into right now.
Making out?
Yeah.
What are you into?
Talking.
Yeah.
There's just one little wrinkle.
The star of the movie
Tom Ryder.
is missing. We need you to find him.
Why me?
You're a stuntman. No one's gonna notice whether you're here or not. No offense.
I mean, some taken. Tom?
Full disclosure, he has fallen in with some shady people.
Just checking in on you.
And they're not gonna like you sniffing around.
I'm just a stunt guy!
This is insane, man. We got drugs, bad guys, and murder.
What's an ice crime?
Are you saying ice cream or ice crime?
Ice crime.
Okay, it's just with your accent, it's hard. I'm not reporting an ice cream.
Yes, no, I get that.
Okay.
This is an epic story. Of cosmic proportions.
The bad guys are closing in.
We're gonna hide you.
Nope, we're gonna beat the shit out of him. I never forget a fist. I don't mean it like that.
Nothing like a good twist.
Who doesn't love a twist?
Let's make some trouble.
Get out of my head.
Stay alive.
No matter
What?
We're gonna beat the shit out of him.
I have a better idea.
You wanna die? Okay. Maniac.
This stuntman's crazy.
We're gonna surround him.
And we beat the shit out of him. Shit. One last stunt. Going down in a blaze of glory.
We need a big finale.
How many takes do you have of that?
I've got 5 takes.
So big.
Have the correct time.
It's 11:16 exactly.
Must be a mistake. It should have happened by now.
Let's move. Do you want to be a hero?
I'm James Bigglesworth. My friends call me Biggles.
Jim Ferguson.
Come on.
Hey, what the hell am I doing here? What's going on?
You mean that was 1917?
Time travel is not unknown in history.
Why me?
I think Biggles is your time twin. You again?
I want some answers.
Quick, untie us! Get us out of here before they start realizing you're not a god, you're just an American.
This is getting crazier, you know.
Debbie, stay away. You gotta stay away.
Come on, Ferguson!
I told you, I keep going back to 1917. Where'd you come from?
I have no idea.
It's that hole in time. It keeps happening to me.
Apparently, the hole in time goes both ways. It opens when one or the other is in mortal danger.
Let's show the sausage guzzler what this thing can do.
What do you say?
Say, let's kick some ass.
Biggles, the adventure begins one step back in time.
And we're back, and like I say, there's a couple of things in there that make me think copyright, but we'll hope that that doesn't happen. And all I want to say is, what a blog! Loved it today, absolutely lovely. And the weather's lovely. I'm going to go out there and do some things with the garden, try and stretch this bloody nerve, and work next week. Yeah, hate to think about that, but forget about tomorrow. Appreciate what I've got left of today. That's how I'm going to look at things. And with that, please look after yourselves. Support who you want to support. Enjoy everything that's out there. That's what it's there for. Salute to everyone. Thanks very much. Till next week. Bye-bye.